My fiance wanted his cheating friend as best man. I said, no way.
Cheater, cheater, pumpkin eater.
My fiance, Paul, male 26, and I, female 26, got engaged last year and immediately started planning our wedding for this August. My best friend, Monica, female 26, is my maid of honor, but Paul has a group of 5 close friends and wasn't sure who to pick as his best man. After a few months, he asked Steven, male 25, and both of us were happy with that decision. By the way, this comes from Mendy Official on the Charlotte Dobre YouTube subreddit. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, to really understand the issue, I need to explain some background about our friend group. Besides Monica, I also have a close friend named Lydia, female 26. Lydia and I have been friends since high school. We were best friends for years, but drifted apart for a while. Monica and Lydia knew each other from childhood, so the 3 of us used to hang out. When Lydia and I drifted, so did Monica and Lydia, and Monica and I got closer. Eventually, life brought us all back together and everything felt normal again. Steven and Paul are also high school friends and very close. Steven went through a rough breakup during the pandemic that really messed with him emotionally. Instead of processing it, he buried himself in the gym, which he now calls his therapy. He's working as a personal trainer and still hasn't finished college. Until recently, I thought he was a great guy and even told people that. A few months after the 3 of us girls reconnected, Lydia met Steven. The moment she mentioned him, I had a gut feeling they would hook up. Lydia was in a relationship at the time, but planning to break up with her boyfriend. Oh. Steven was flirty and pushy, and I warned him to be careful. He was still emotionally fragile, and Lydia was still technically in a relationship. He ignored me. A few weeks later, at his birthday party, they made out, and Lydia broke up with her boyfriend the next day. Not cool, Lydia.
Yikes.
Not cool. Paul and I stayed out of the relationship. It was awkward since both of them were close to us. Lydia and Paul also went to the same high school. At first, they seemed happy and in love. Lydia was thrilled when Paul picked Steven as his best man and started planning coordinated outfits for the wedding, sending me inspo pics and ideas about the theme. Where I'm from, we don't really have bridesmaids, so it felt special to have her sitting at the newlyweds table with us. But around 6 months in, Paul and I started noticing issues. Steven would tell Lydia about female clients, texting him things like, "Damn, that workout really did a number on me. My legs and butt are aching. You pushed me hard.
Whoa.
Just wait till tomorrow at training. You'll feel exactly how tight and tense everything is." What?
Oh my gosh. What workouts are we talking about?
Yeah. Jeez. That's pretty
Yikes.
insane. He'd talk about how they baked him cookies or brought him gifts, always in a way that made it sound like he had options. When Lydia would get fed up and snap, she'd tell him to keep his options if he wanted because he was just as replaceable as her ex.
Whoa.
It got toxic, but Paul and I kept quiet. Around the holidays, they were fighting constantly. Steven told us he suspected Lydia would cheat on him with a coworker, so he broke up with her. Lydia didn't tell me anything. When I asked why she was avoiding me, she said she wasn't ready to talk about it, didn't want to drag me into it, and just needed time. I apologized and let her know I was there for her when she was ready. 2 weeks later, Paul told me Steven had hooked up with a gym girl, let's call her Gabby, the same one who had been baking him things. I said I didn't want to know anymore. I wanted to stay neutral. Months passed. Lydia finally opened up and told me she had gotten close to her coworker, but nothing happened until months after her breakup.
I thought Lydia was the gym girl. But this is
No.
another girl.
There's another girl.
Oh no.
Right after they broke up. Right after
Yikes.
Steven and Lydia.
Yikes.
Months passed. Lydia finally opened up and told me she had gotten close to her coworker, but nothing happened until months after her breakup. She said she's happier now, working on herself, and has been apologizing to people for past behavior. I'm honestly really proud of her. And yes, she's invited to our wedding. I mean, she clearly was, she literally went from, she cheated on her previous boyfriend.
Yeah, with this guy.
With Steven, and then immediately got together with Steven. So obviously that wasn't going to be a healthy relationship.
Yeah, it was gonna end in cheating. And by the way that girl, the gym girl was talking to him, it kind of feels like they already were
too.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, well, Lydia's cheating, so I'm going to cheat on her and then break up with her.
Yeah, and that's probably why he was accusing her. Yeah,
probably. Meanwhile, I didn't know what was going on with Steven, but I noticed Paul was getting distant with him. He denied it until one night when he got wasted and confessed everything. Paul told me Stephen has been indirectly pushing to bring Gabby as his +1 to our wedding, even though Paul already said no several times. Stephen keeps bringing her to guys' nights, trying to force Paul to get to know her so he'll change his mind. Paul doesn't like it. Not because he doesn't know her well enough, but because she's not even a real girlfriend. She's just a hookup. He thinks Stephen is being petty and wants to bring her just because Lydia will be there. Paul says he's tired of the high school drama and doesn't want her around our wedding. We had agreed that +1s should only be serious partners we both know well. I was livid inside, but I stayed calm and told Paul he needs to talk to Stephen soon. I even said that if Stephen doesn't listen, maybe Paul should consider replacing him as best man. Paul said no, he'll stay best man, but he promised to talk to him and deal with it. Then I finally met Gabby at a mutual friend's birthday. I was polite and said hello, but kept my distance. Later, Stephen asked me to step outside for a cig. We're the only ones who smoke. And the very first thing he asked was what I thought of Gabby. I said I didn't really know her. I'd spoken to her for maybe 10 minutes. He said, so you have a positive opinion and you like her? I said, no, I don't have an opinion. Don't twist what I said.
Yeah.
Back inside, I overheard him saying something like, Lydia could have been here, but it's her fault she's not. Gabby was being overly nice to me, probably because she knows Lydia is my friend, and even offered to help with wedding stuff. I politely declined. I'd already started to realize, especially from how Stephen was acting and talking that night, that he thinks he can do whatever he wants at our wedding. He doesn't seem to get that after Paul and me, he and Monica are the most important people there. When I tried to explain that to him, he rolled his eyes and said, how stupid.
What?
I vented to Monica and Lydia in our group chat. Lydia finally opened up about everything Stephen had said and done, how cruel he had been after the breakup, accusing her of cheating, calling her names, and saying horrible things that no one deserves to hear. And the most hypocritical part, he said all of that to her, painted her as the villain, and then less than 2 weeks later started an F-buddy situation with Gabby. That completely changed my opinion of it. Lydia joked about wearing a revenge dress and told me to do whatever I want. She doesn't care if Gabby's there or not. Monica suggested we give Stephen an ultimatum. If he insists on bringing Gabby, he's not best man, just a guest. I'm honestly leaning even further and thinking, no Gabby and no best man role, just guess. Paul told me not to stress, that he'll handle it. But it's been a month and he still hasn't talked to Stephen. The feeling that we should change the best man isn't going away, it's only getting stronger. So am I the a-hole for kind of pushing my fiancé to change his best man? And there is an update, but what do you think?
One, I think you should maybe reconsider friends in general. But then also best man, like he's going to be in all the wedding pictures. He's going to be up there with you. Like I think it's totally fine.
Yeah, but I mean, it's at the end of the day, I think it's your partner's decision because he's the best man. So I feel like you can push him to do this, and also say like, hey, I really don't want Gabby there. I think you can only invite her.
Yeah, at least have a conversation.
Yeah, but there is an update, folks. So we're going to get into it. Before I get into the update, I want to address some of the comments about Lydia because I saw a lot of strong opinions about her role in all of this. The reality is Lydia knows she wasn't emotionally present towards the end of her relationship with Stephen. She's been honest about that. She admitted that things were falling apart and that she had mentally started distancing herself before the breakup actually happened, but nothing ever crossed a line while they were still together. More importantly, she didn't pull me into it. She didn't talk badly about Stephen or try to turn me against him. In fact, she stayed quiet for months because she didn't want to create tension, not with me, not with Paul, and not within the group. That silence wasn't avoidance, it was her way of quietly taking responsibility. Her connection with her coworker only became something more, after the breakup. She never cheated, and since then she's made a real effort to reflect on what went wrong and grow from it. She's been respectful, honest, and focused on staying far away from drama, which is more than I can say for Stephen, honestly. She made mistakes like we all have, but she owned hers, and that matters. That said, I do have an update, and wow, things really blew up.
Uh-oh.
So Paul read the post. I expected him to be upset that I vented online, but instead he looked at me and said, "You're not crazy. You were right to push me. I should have stepped up." It meant a lot. And honestly, his opinion matters most to me. He'd admitted he'd been dragging his feet because confrontation stresses him out, but he also recognized that letting it fester wasn't fair to me, to us, or to our wedding. Turns out Paul's whole friend group had also started noticing Stephen acting off. A few of them even asked Paul why he was letting Stephen walk all over our boundaries. That gave Paul the extra push he needed. So we finally met up with Stephen. Paul wanted me there, so I sat in as a silent observer. Paul was calm, but direct. He told Stephen that Gabby isn't invited because she's not a serious partner. And our wedding isn't the place for drama or passive-aggressive revenge moves. Paul said that if Stephen couldn't respect that, he'd have to step down as best man. Stephen looked confused about that rule. So Paul explained again. +1s are only for serious long-term partners we both know well, something we'd agreed on from the beginning. Stephen's response. At first he scoffed and said, I don't get what the big deal is. Then he started getting defensive, almost combative, and went off on a bizarre rant. People break up all the time. Honestly, even you two could break up. What if that happens? Is everyone just supposed to pretend it was some fairy tale? And then to top it off, he said he didn't see why he should step down because, in his words, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm being punished just for having a +1. You don't have a +1. You don't have a +1. That's
you're not getting punished for that.
You're not being punished. You just don't have a +1. It wasn't just deflection. He was angry, ranting about how everyone's against him and no one cares about his feelings. It felt like all the resentment he'd been holding in just exploded. I stayed quiet, mostly out of shock, while Paul just sat there stunned. This wasn't the friend he thought he knew. This was someone spiraling. Eventually, Paul stood up, looked him in the eye, and said, I need space from this. I'm not okay with what you just said. And the two of us walked out together. A couple of days later, Stephen called Paul and said he no longer wanted to be best man. His exact words, it's just not the vibe anymore. But he still made it clear that he plans to come to the wedding alone. At first, we were confused. It didn't add up. But then we found out the truth. Paul's entire friend group had confronted Stephen after hearing what he said during the conversation. They called him out for being immature, manipulative, and completely disrespectful. They told Stephen to stop playing the victim and finally held him accountable. So no, he didn't step down because it wasn't the vibe. He stepped down because the people who know him best finally told him the truth to his face. By the way, I'm going to tell you guys the truth, and that is that you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Story. But there is a little bit left to this story. Do you have any final thoughts?
The truth has been revealed to Paul about Stephen, and he made the decision for himself. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess Stephen kind of did too, but it seemed like Paul was like, I don't want you as best man. So yeah, it wasn't OP telling him like, hey, this needs to happen.
No, absolutely.
They kind of made that decision together. And that's the best way to do it. You don't want this guy at your wedding.
No,
not after all this.
I also do think it's interesting about the title of like cheating friend. It doesn't feel like he actually cheated. He sucks, but Lydia is the only one who's actually cheated in this story.
She's coming.
Yeah. So but he does suck
funny.
In other ways.
Right.
Which is the real problem. But there is a little bit left to this story. After everything, we talked it over, and as much as we considered uninviting him entirely, we both agreed that could potentially make things worse. We didn't want to pour gasoline on an already burning situation. So yes, Stephen's still invited, but only as a guest. And Paul's friend group, who were livid after everything, promised us they'll keep him in check and make sure nothing gets out of hand. So yeah, Stephen's out as best man. Paul chose his cousin to replace him, and honestly, I haven't seen Paul this relieved in months. The awkwardness is gone. The tension is gone. We can finally breathe again. Lydia's doing well, starting drama-free and working on herself. She meant it when she said she didn't care if Gabby came. But let's just say she's not exactly heartbroken that she won't. We're getting married next month, and for the first time in a long time, it actually feels like the celebration it's supposed to be. And that is the end of that story.
What a good ending.
Yeah, wow. You guys figured it out.
Exactly.
Took a minute, but, you got there.
I refuse to be involved with my friend any longer because she's always starting drama.
We're not friends anymore.
I, 37 female, have been friends with someone. Let's call her Meg, 41 female. And we have been friends, quote unquote, for over 7 years now. And I thought we were close. Her kids called me auntie, and my kids called her auntie. I thought we saw each other as family, essentially. By the way, this comes from Dark Goddess 88, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, she has been with her husband a little less than 20 years, with it mostly being strained and lots of conflict. She owned a shop that I worked in and was her manager and helped run the day-to-day operations, which is how we became close. I essentially started working there without being paid as more of a volunteer thing. My husband became frustrated and wanted me to be paid, so she began to pay me. Not much, but it was something. And I could take care of my kids without daycare, essentially. Well, things happened at the store and she couldn't pay me, but I didn't want to give up on the store because I really loved it and put a lot of time and energy into it. Last year is when things really changed on a personal level, I guess. My family and hers also hung out with a group of friends on a regular basis, and things were nice. We were all kind of close friends, hanging out until Christmas of 2023. Meg and her husband decided, I guess, to go through with the separation, which is fine if that was going to make them happy. We were all more concerned for the kids since sometimes Meg and her husband didn't always keep their personal business private. At the same time they decided to go through with the separation, Meg began to hang out with another guy, let's call him Sam, 32 male. At first, the friend group didn't think much of it until Sam seemed to be around a lot, especially when Meg's husband, let's call him Greg, wasn't around. As close as me and Meg were, she never really told me anything about Sam, just kept saying that he was a friend. In January 2024, Meg is telling me that she had moved into the spare room after Christmas and that her and Greg were trying to coexist in the same house since she didn't have the funds to move out. But that lately, things were getting to be too intense in the house. Greg, I guess, wasn't giving her any space and kept coming into her room and starting arguments. Now, my husband and Greg were friends as well, and I was friends with Greg as much as Meg. Greg has come to both me and my husband for advice, like Meg, and we have tried to help both of them. From the very beginning, we told Greg and Meg that no matter what, we wouldn't choose sides and we were going to be friends with both of them. Meg came crying to me saying that she was afraid Greg was going to punt her out of the house and she had nowhere to go. I felt really bad and I had been through an ugly divorce a long time ago where I was essentially homeless. I didn't want anyone I cared about to go through that, and we had a spare room, so me and my husband offered for her to come stay with us until she figured out what to do or find somewhere more permanent. She moved in with us, and at first it wasn't so bad. We understood that with things at the store not doing well, she more than likely wouldn't be able to help with rent or bills. After a month of moving in with us, things became strained with the entire friend group because of some incident that I wasn't present for, where a few of our friends and Meg were out at a bar and Sam showed up. Things happened with one of our friends and Sam, and he left. I was told about what happened, and some of the friends and I talked about it, pretty much being on the same page that we didn't really like Sam, but we weren't sure what's going on with Meg and Sam or Meg and Greg. We agreed to try to stay out of it and just support them however we could. That didn't last because not long after, Sam started to come over to our house and Meg informs me that they are now dating. Okay.
Oh, well, this friend is, not so much of a friend anymore.
Apparently. To put that in perspective, she has known Sam since October. Her and Greg separate in December. Sam and Meg are hanging out in January, and by February, her and Sam are now dating. Me and my husband were trying to stay out of it and thought we were just helping someone to not be homeless. When it comes out that Sam and Meg are dating, the friend group essentially split into camps because most didn't like Sam. Me, my husband, and another close friend, Adam, didn't want to choose sides, but we were essentially assumed to be on Meg's side, and the other friends were on Greg's side. Our group didn't speak much after that, so we lost a few really good friends because of Meg and Greg. Now, during all this, Sam comes over and spends the night with Meg a few days, maybe the weekend, and then they would go to Sam's place for some time. That was fine with us and seemed rather normal for an adult relationship.
Be like if I had a friend staying over, I don't know if I would want their partner coming and staying too.
Right. I feel like you only get those privileges if you pay rent.
Yeah, if you live there and she's not.
But if you're like couch surfing.
Yeah, you don't get to be like, hey, my boyfriend's going to be over a couple nights a week.
Yeah, you don't get to invite people. Unfortunately, that did not last very long, and Sam showed up and essentially never left one day.
Kick him out. It's
For
your
real.
place.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing?
She essentially had him move into our house, into her room, even though he rented a room with one of his friends, but neither of them were giving any sort of contribution to our household for bills. They would buy food for themselves or go out to eat. Where she had the money, I have no idea, since the store was her only job and neither of us were being paid at this time. Or so I thought.
OP, this is ridiculous. Just tell them to go live at Sam's apartment.
Yeah, get her out of there. We didn't have much money, but I always tried to be the nice person. Sometimes too nice.
Yeah, clearly.
And if I cooked something, I tried my best to include them with my family, and they would do the same sometimes. Me and my husband, Adam, and Adam's partner all became close during this time since no one else really talked to us because of Meg. On top of everything with Meg and Sam, she had her 2 kids over every other weekend for visitation. For the first 2 times, Sam would leave and the kids slept in her room, but after, Sam stayed and the kids had nowhere to sleep except in my son's room with him. It was okay at first, but after a bit, he started having a hard time with everything, which was understandable, and we tried our best to help him emotionally and mentally. Yeah, that's another point, is that OP has kids.
Yeah.
Like, it's a tricky scenario to have a friend of yours stay over when you have kids.
Yeah.
Like, it's an adjustment, but then having that friend bring over a man?
That's totally irresponsible and disrespectful.
Absolutely. The time that Sam and Meg were together and living with us, most times they seemed to be arguing or fighting with each other.
Totally inappropriate.
Which created a really uncomfortable household.
Dude, it's your household. Kick them out.
It was always something stupid or trivial between the two of them. I started getting sick around April and we found out that we were expecting our second child next year, in 2025.
Them out.
Whoa.
Kick them out.
We had gone camping that summer with a group that we're a part of, and of course Sam and Meg also go, but Greg and his new girlfriend also go. Sam and Meg got into a big fight that I got in the middle of to try and keep the peace. Meg was also upset about Greg's girlfriend being there, and she said some not so nice things about her in front of her kids, which then got back to Greg. It was a whole ordeal and just stressful. Never again, that's for sure. After the camping trip, we talked with Meg and let her know that we needed the spare room for the nursery since we would not force our teenage son to share a room with the new baby. She understood, and we had agreed that as long as I had 3 months before the birth to get the nursery in order, we were good. Well, I guess things weren't going so good with her and Sam, so she apparently started talking again with Greg. They had met up quite a few times behind Sam's back and slept together during the summer that I didn't even know about.
Meg and Greg?
Yeah.
Meg and Greg?
Meg and Greg. The divorced couple.
I'm getting them out of I'm getting both of them out of the friend group. I'm saying
Dude.
I'm going to the friends that were the good friends and saying, hey,
Yeah.
Meg and Greg are a mess. I don't want to be friends with either of them. Can we just be friends again?
Yeah, exactly. If we're choosing sides,
I'm
choosing people that are not involved.
Not them.
She expressed that both her and Greg wanted to try again, and she wanted her family back. I was supportive and tried to help and give advice, one being that if they want to try, they both need to break up with their flings. She kept putting it off, not wanting to hurt Sam, but seeing Greg behind his back and making plans to move back into Greg's house. Finally, I guess she told Sam that she was moving in with another friend so that we could have the nursery, and they got into an argument and Sam took his stuff and left. I guess that was her way of breaking up with him. I don't know. After breaking up with Sam, she seemed to have regrets and wasn't sure if she wanted to go back to Greg.
I hate her so much.
Either way, she finally moved out and back into Greg's house in the spare room. Here is where I start getting a little upset.
This is where you start getting upset?
This is where you start.
Ages ago.
So long ago.
So long.
Oh my goodness, this woman. When she left, it took a few more weeks for her to take all her stuff, and we were now into December and the nursery wasn't ready, and I was due in January. We had a bunch of stuff from the shower that was stuffed into our garage. I did not feel prepared at all for this baby. The baby would be in our room for the first few months, but I wanted the nursery set up before the baby came so I could also access their stuff and have a space for them. I was hurt because going into the room the first time, I was shocked at the state of the room. I'm not an overly OCD clean person, but I do like my house to be tidy and in order. But the room was a mess. Trash was left behind. Holes in the wall. Nothing had been cleaned or dusted since she moved into the room. The room also has a private bathroom, and the bathroom was trashed. The light fixtures weren't working and were rusted. The sink was leaking and clogged. I was devastated, but we cleaned everything up, fixed what we could, and got the nursery ready in record time. The whole time during my pregnancy, she talked about how excited she was that we were having this baby and she couldn't wait. My mom, dad, husband, Adam, and his partner Joseph were the only ones to help get the nursery ready. She didn't even help us paint or get things set up. She came by, got her stuff, and left. That was hurtful to me, but I was trying to be understanding that she didn't have the gas money and she had gotten another job to supplement income because the store was doing badly. In January, I had the baby and took maternity leave from the store. Her and Adam were part of my birthing team, but I ended up going to the hospital with complications. Her and Adam came to visit after the baby was born, but after that, I didn't hear from her or see her for over a month. I went back to the store after 7 weeks since she left her daughter in charge of the shop and to try to help when I could. During this time, the group of friends that we had become estranged with reached out and was checking on me and the baby regularly. Meg would contact me occasionally about the shop, and eventually she chose to close the shop permanently. Once the shop closed, I haven't really heard much from her. I started mending things with the friend group, and we have become close once again, and essentially everyone has gotten tired of the drama between Meg and Greg. I have heard from multiple people that Meg had been telling people that me and my husband did not help her much, and that we let her essentially starve, and how no one has been there for her.
Ooh, I would be so mad.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh-wee.
Not much.
Oh, I would be furious.
That is so insane. It really upset me to hear that. She sounded very ungrateful. But you know what will never upset me to hear is hearing you guys go to Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, whatever your favorite podcast app is, and hearing our full episodes with more stories just like this one. Just search OK Storytime.
There we go.
You can hear all of our stories.
So true.
And there is a little bit more to the story, but my blood is boiling.
The audacity.
Oh my goodness.
I'm sending her a mean letter written in feather, ink.
Yeah.
And it's got one of those stamps.
Yep.
And there's like a thumbprint of blood on it.
Yep.
I don't know, for authenticity or something.
Sure.
And it says, "How dare you? You think that you can get away with this behavior? Oh, I'll release all of the information I have."
Oh my gosh. Terrible. I was told that she is back with Sam, but is still living with Greg.
Yeah, that's freaking messy.
I had essentially just given up on her and our friendship since she didn't seem to want to be a part of my life anymore. My birthday just passed and I figured she wouldn't reach out at all, but she made a Facebook post telling me happy birthday and how much she still loved me. I'm torn because I care about my friends and I try to be a good person. My friend Adam and I have talked about things and he thinks that she is just making a public spectacle on Facebook, trying to save face by making it seem like we are still close. Part of me wants to think that this may be her way of reaching out to me, even though she could have just easily texted me privately. Am I the a-hole for not being understanding of what she is going through and just cutting ties with her? Or should I give her the benefit of the doubt? And there is an update. Whoa.
Oh.
What?
A little baby update?
A little baby update.
Cut her off.
Cut her off.
She literally lied about you. Cut her off.
You guys, you don't need to be dealing with this stupid high school, relationship drama.
She said, I don't care. Not only did she lie about you, she has taken advantage of your kindness, brought her boyfriend into your home, brought her relationship problems into your home.
Right.
It's too much. Bye.
So on to our little update. She reached out to me today, and at first it was cordial and seemed like she was truly interested in things and maybe trying to reconnect. After the trivial chit-chat, she started fishing for information about one of the other friends in the group and about things going on in the group. When I didn't give her any information, she has abruptly stopped talking to me. I guess I answered my own question, and that is the end of that story.
And there you have it. She revealed her true self.
Wow. Yeah, just using ya for info on the friends that she wasn't good enough to keep.
Not.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Ay.
What a headache. Yeah, trash took itself out.
Mm-hmm.
You're fine.